Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
Every once in a while, we have to bring out the big dog.
Yeah.
Oh, God help us. It's time for Danny Unleashed. Sponsored by Easton Roofing, where integrity matters. Go to eastonroofing.com for more.
Hour number 2, we welcome Danny Clinkscale into the program. He's brought to you by Easton Roofing. Joe Spiker. Maybe someday that guy will come around and say hello.
Who dat?
I don't know. Easton Roofing, we may or may not have Joe Spiker in the building right now. I don't know.
Somebody looks
a lot
embarrassing like him.
Tell you what, must be a tough day. It must be a tough day over at Easton Roofing. I can tell you that right now. Covering the entire metro area, including Lawrence and Topeka. No payment collected until you're 100% satisfied. That is Easton Roofing, commercial, residential. Easton Roofing has you covered. Call 913-257-5426. We had some storms roll through the area recently. If you got people roaming around the neighborhood, knocking on the doors, that's a fun time, right? Oh, hey, look, your roof looks messed up. Oh, well, geez, I might as well go ahead and have you up there. Call Joe and the crew. Have them come out. They're happy to come out and give you a free inspection, a free estimate if any work is necessary. They'll go over all the possible solutions. Unlike those knock-on-door types that'll tell you the whole thing's got to go. Sometimes all you need is a repair, or maybe at least a repair will get you through right now, and you can wait a little bit before you have the bigger repair of an entire new roof. Many kinds of financing available, not just one, like most other roofing companies. Let Easton Roofing show you all the options that are available. Find them online right now at eastonroofing.com. Getting you back to business. Danny, getting you back to life faster. That's Easton Roofing.
Oh, yeah. You know, Soren, you often say that nobody works on Friday. You make reference to it, that the week's already over. In fact, I think you say that on Thursday afternoons. Well, I was just over at my weekly setting appointment at the chiropractor, which I do right before here, which is right across the parking lot. And that place was a ghost town. An absolute
Did you have any trouble finding a place to park here at the old Union Broadcasting, Danny?
In fact, I was coming over to park on the side, and I'm like, there's not one car. Now, there were actually, I was blocked by trees. There was one. But, yeah, that's kind of quiet in here, too. So, good for people that they can
I agree.
Get out. Weather's beautiful.
The roads are a lot of fun these days.
What I haven't noticed the difference.
We were working on some stuff, and Joe and I were talking about the joys of driving. And he was saying, during the pandemic, it sucked and all. But for the guys like him that were out on the road still, he said, man, what a peaceful time on the roads. And I was like, yeah, for a guy who didn't drive sometimes for weeks on end, what a wonderful time on the road it was for me. I had the joy of a guy coming to a complete stop today with a green right turn arrow in the right turn lane. And I gave him the honk, like, hey.
Little light reminder.
Like, oh, maybe you're missing that green arrow that we should go. I mean, fortunately, I'm not a dumbass and didn't plow into the back of you with a green arrow, but I'm just going to give you the excuse me. Guy turns the corner, then stops the car like there's going to be an altercation, and I just was like, whatever, and drove on by. More gray hair and older than me. And I was like, well, good for you to still have the spirit, old-timer. I rolled up. He's roaring up behind me. I'm like, well, I'll stop short of the car next to me. He really wants to discuss this, so let's give him the opportunity. So I stopped. I rolled down the window, and he slammed on the brakes so he didn't have to get up next to me. I was like, okay, good choice. The road rage is stupid. We're going to go on about our day. So I drive on down, got to turn left on Metcalf. As he comes by Metcalf, I see him. I'm like, oh, here he comes. I'll bet we found some gusto now. And as I'm getting ready to turn left, here he comes by the side of me, the old number one, flying, just slammed up there, defiant, up yours. I was like, man, those balls grew a lot in the last 3 blocks. I'll tell you that. That's impressive.
When you're on the move.
Oh, yeah.
When you're absolutely on the move.
They were the size of boulders. A little bitty marbles back when
worse,
I stopped.
But I get annoyed when there's 2 lanes at a long light and somebody who's going straight is in the right. Come on, man. We could be, if we had to make a right, we could be gone now, but you've decided that you'll sidle up one more spot and go straight and make us cool our heels for 1:15 back here. Screw you.
Now, there are some places where you don't have a choice. If you're going to go straight, you can't. There is no only
but
straight.
No, this is
like right out here where you enter into our
But out here makes perfect sense.
Yes, I know.
The left lane is left only.
Yes.
The right lane is straight and right turn. It's like somebody decided to penalize us for working here.
Here's the
Everywhere else is straight and left.
Here's the type
or
of guy.
some cheap ass carve out a right turn only lane.
Here's the type of guy I am. When I go up to that light and I'm first, going straight, because it's an interminable light. I mean, sometimes it's got to be 3 minutes sometimes.
It sucks.
I move way up and sort of sidle over so that somebody actually has room to make a right. Now, often the dumbasses don't take advantage of it. But it's there if you want it. And I'm like, plenty of room for that SUV, Joni. You can make a right.
Yeah, and there's
Whatever.
one more spot. It's close by, and there are a lot. I'm sure people have been this. That where I think the city needs to make some assistance too. The quick trip across the way at Riley. When you pull out, you're going to go across the street where there's the shopping center. Left lane goes left or straight. The right lane is right turn only. And there's a sign, but it's in the grass, and it's about 30 feet back from the intersection shrouded by trees. So people routinely pull up there. They want to go straight. They don't know it's a right turn only lane, and they can't see it because
Or
there's no
they
sign
do,
in front.
and they're just
Yes, they could be.
a-holes.
They get out and they get their drink. While they're pulling up, they're looking, making sure they got their drink and unwrapping their candy bar or whatever. There should be a sign across the way where you can see it at least once a week. I'm sitting in there wanting to turn right, and there's some guy who's going straight, and I can't. And you honk. They're like, "What are you honking at me for?" I'm just
Because
going across the street.
Kansas City's such a great
idiot.
place. People are so kind. They're so nice to you.
So that's
a great town.
That has been a burr under my saddle for.
sometimes
how long have I worked here? 17 years.
Can we admit, great town if you're face to face. So there's at least a little bit of two-facedness with our fine city, because when they get behind a wheel, the a-hole factor rockets up hundreds of percent.
You're saying this is Twitter.
Separate your someone.
Yeah.
Yes. If you're separated by several feet, metal and glass, and motion, you can be a little more.
Well, sometimes
angry.
the people are just too nice.
If that person was next to you in an elevator, probably not going to say anything to them.
Oh, the guy who's going to screw the turn up because he's not going to go when he's supposed to go. So there's a 3-car pileup behind him because everyone's slamming on the brakes because he's telling someone else to go when it's not their turn. You mean that Einstein?
That one, but also the calamity of the 4-way stop.
Oh,
as people, there, go ahead, go ahead. I'm nice. I was here first, but I'm going to be nice, and then everybody's waving, and I'm just
nobody. I'm convinced 90% of the city thinks it's duck, duck, goose. One car at a time in a circle.
No,
not opposites.
When one guy goes, the guy across from him goes.
Someone's turning left. Oh, we start over. We start over.
Yep.
Reverts back 3 spots. Like, what are the rules? Could you, I would be willing to take the damn driver's test every year, or at least every time I renew my license, if it got some of these dumbasses off the road for a while. Or at least taught them the rules.
And then the one where they're nice and they're generally rule obeyers, so they go left when a lane is going to end 2 miles before it's going to end.
Oh, and then they're going to swerve out in front of you because you're going to use the lane?
Right. Then I'm going to use the lane for at least some time. I mean, that's what it's there for, and then merge, and then you got Mr. Lane Protector.
Oh, the lane warrior.
Right.
Because he can't figure out, he clearly can't handle a 4-way stop, and he's not going to even begin to try to unwrap the riddle that is the zipper merge.
Right. It's bad.
It's beyond my competence, so screw you.
And it creates,
we're backing up for 3 miles
right.
over 4 blind hills and creating 6 accidents and 18-wheelers jackknifing in the center of the highway. Well, nice job, you a-hole.
Right. It's so dumb, and then afterwards you just like, oh, Mo, look at this bottleneck. It's a disaster. There must be 4 accidents up there. It's nothing except people don't know how to merge. And then as soon as you get past it, it's clear sailing.
Yes.
Ever been in the right lane where both lanes turn left, and the guy who's to the left of you doesn't know you can turn left too and tries to pull into your lane, then honks at you because he thinks you turned out of the wrong lane. Hey, dude, get out of my lane. We're both turning left here, schmuck. Did
Do you not see the
sign?
arrows on the street, too? Should have been some of your guide.
Yes. I had one guy cut me off, and the guy behind him, maybe they were friends, got in behind me and started honking at me. And I'm just like, I'm not a road rage guy, but you can see what kind of
Where it comes from.
Turns the hand into the bird. You can kind of see where that. Oh, I get it now. I totally get what they're talking about. Because I want to chase that person for 6 blocks and tell them exactly what they. I don't want to beat them up. I want to say, do you realize that was you and not me?
I think the joke is, I don't get into road rage, but I understand what makes Mr. Hand Mr. Fist.
Yes. This old Sam Kinison.
Yeah.
Yes, that's. How dare you be in the lane you're supposed to be in? It's I'm an idiot.
Well, my wife is, as we've noted before, is not the greatest passenger when I'm driving.
So last week you said you got out of the car mid street.
I did. I've done that. I've done that with consecutive wives, as a matter of fact. But one thing that makes her angry is that if somebody makes a mistake on the road, or they're going to look like they might cut you off, they're starting to weave a little bit. She's like, "Why didn't you blow the horn at him?" I'm like, because this guy's probably on his phone or he's half in the bag. I don't know. And my worry is that if I blast the horn, this guy's going to go, "Wah!" and just go off the road. I mean, he's going to be startled beyond belief because either he is on his phone or he just had 4 cocktails and he's going to, jerk the wheel, and then it's going to be worse. So at all costs, I'm going to wait before I blast the horn.
Well, I prefer your wife's approach.
Yeah,
we're going to announce our presence with authority when you're an idiot in my world.
I know that, but I this is self-preservation for me because I think the guy could react in a very poor way.
Last thing, and then we will get going towards something productive because this is not solving anything.
I bet people are
because there's nobody out there saying, "You know what? I got to do better."
No one's going. I think they're talking about me,
and I've got to improve.
Everyone's
next time
going,
I'm in the right lane, I have to make sure when there's 2 lanes going forward that I'm in the left. I should do that.
Our listeners are smart, so they're going, "Yeah, I hate that crap too."
Right. I'm fine with you saying, "Hey, I'm not going to blow the horn for this reason," and I'm fine with that. But correct me if I'm wrong. Your car is illegal on the road if it doesn't have a horn. Correct? You have to have a working horn for your car to be legal on the road. So there's a reason to have it. It's for the, excuse me, wake up, hold on, bring somebody's attention to something that's going on. You have to have a horn in your car. Then why is it when someone sits, I don't wait for it to just be instantly green, but once it's green and I can see that you're not even looking up and that you've got no intention of looking up, that you're clearly jerking around on your phone, and I give the
excuse me,
not honk. No, not that. Just
It's the throat clit.
The little right. Sure.
Not. It's not. No. Just I give you one of those, and it's bing, the bird.
Yeah.
How insecure are you that the pardon me, you're making a mistake, excuse me, horn warrants F you? Explain that. Let's see. By the way, pardon me equals F you. That's where it is. I don't get that logic.
I think what it is that people don't like being wrong, and when they realize they are truly unadulterated in the wrong, their way of saying I wasn't wrong is to flip you off to prove that they weren't doing something stupid when they were.
I did that, and then I went to a drive-thru, and some idiot followed me, and I'm stuck in a drive-thru. I can't go anywhere. And he puts the window down, and he yells, "What the blank is your problem?" I'm like, "Your inability to see the green light, sir. Who the blank do you think you are? A guy trying to get to a drive-thru, I think. What are you... how long are you going to keep asking these ridiculous questions?" I tooted because you were sitting through a green light. Is this making it better? Is your life getting better? Are you becoming more productive? Have you made a point? Are you taller? Did it grow longer? Did this make it better? What is your problem? Clearly, I think the problem is on your end.
Never.
I'm looking for a nugget. That's it.
Never on your end. Never. Take a deep breath there, buddy. By the way,
Cool passive thoughts.
just so you know, being a passenger with Soren driving is a terror train. So,
That is not true.
You're a very, very aggressive driver.
That is not true.
You're an extremely aggressive driver.
I think you're exaggerating for comedic purposes.
Ordinarily, I would plead guilty. In this case, not.
You're in the program.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
I'm here with Joe Spiker, owner of Easton Roofing. And, Joe, there's all kinds of roofing companies in Kansas City. People see their trucks, they see their ads, they see their commercials on TV. What separates you out from the pack?
Danny, you know, there's a lot of roofers in Kansas City that are good roofers that can put a good roof on, but we like to pride ourselves on giving you a good customer service experience. From the first time you call, you're going to get a friendly voice on the phone. We're going to let you know what's happening and when it's happening. And, you know, the other piece is some companies are small enough to do small jobs. Some companies are big enough to do big jobs. You know, we're right there in the middle. We can handle the little stuff. We can handle your repairs all the way up to your big commercial roofs.
So what's the best way for folks to get in touch with you at Easton Roofing?
You can find us at eastonroofing.com, or you can always call us at 913-257-5426. That's 913-257-5426.
Easton Roofing. Integrity matters.
All right, the good sense, end of the hour answer. Among players with at least 60 playoff games, only one has a lower winning percentage as a starter than Damian Lillard. Who is it?
60?
At least 60 playoff games.
Damian Lillard, by the way, is clutch, Danny.
He is 22.
He's heroic.
He's 22 and 39.
He's 22 and 39 in the postseason, but which I have no problem with him being showered with praise. It's just how he is God's gift, and LeBron James and all his success is a turd. That's the thing that
when
drives
he doesn't
me crazy.
score, while the Nuggets go on a 500-3 run last night in a 15-minute span, not a word said.
Yeah.
But he did score 55 in
He
a
did,
losing playoff game.
Right. But
Again, losing. And Curtis got a tweet. Well, Michael Jordan never scored 55 and lose, except he scored 63 and lost.
Yeah.
If he needed to score 70, he would have done so. Except for that time he had to and didn't. Other than that.
Okay, worse. I'm trying to think of some playoff flame-out players. This is a tough.
This guy is 28 and 55.
Is he active?
Yes.
Active player, best, well, maybe. Okay,
He is active, but his season just ended.
Okay, so he lost the game. So he's taken on some losses and still has that.
It may have ended the exact same moment Damian Lillard's season ended.
Carmelo Anthony?
Carmelo Anthony, 28 and 55. And
That's the worst?
That's the worst among 60 games. But if the Blazers next year, even if they win their first three postseason games and get out to a 3-0 start, C.J. McCollum will take over that role as the worst. Not surprised. They've been together. He's been with Lillard for his whole career. He is currently 18 and 39.
What was Carmelo?
28 and 55.
That's not very good.
The 10 players who
Just
are
barely
the 10
over
players
333.
The other 8 players with at least 60 games that are sub 400: Andre Miller, Dave Corzine, Taj Gibson, Evan Turner, Kiki Vandeweghe, Jeff Teague, Bill Hanslick, and Marcus Camby.
Almost every one of those guys, I'd say, was just like a product of they weren't good enough to carry a squad.
Right.
So they were good enough to be a part of something to get in there but not get it done. Carmelo Anthony, it strikes me, and Damian Lillard strike me. Funny the two of them would come together now. Are both guys that were thought of as really good and are really good and are Hall of Famers, but aren't good enough to just carry a team and aren't the type of players that clearly anybody wants to sign up to play with. I love Carmelo Anthony for what he did for Syracuse, but he's a freaking black hole.
Right. There's no question about that. And I think Lillard does want to be the complete lead dog.
Yes.
But I also think he does have some affection for playing in Portland, and I don't think Portland's a destination. But maybe he wants to play in Portland because he knows he can be the lead dog.
By the way, ESPN stats and info from last night says Anthony has now made 11 career playoff appearances in which his team has failed to win a series. According to Elias, it's tied with Terry Porter for the most in NBA history.
Another Portland player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Danny Clinkscale's with us. It's Danny Unleashed. By the way, we were playing for Good Sense there. You can get that tonight on your way home. GoodSenseSubs.com, even easier with the app. 10% back with the Loyalty Club. Now 30% more meat on their subs. Locally owned and operated, founded right here in Lenexa, Kansas. That is your Good Sense. Danny.
Mm-hmm. We now can speak of anything because we created a fine bridge of no sports.
Yes. Well, where do you want to go? Do you want to go with Mondesi not in the lineup? Do you have anything? You got anything you want to?
I meant
not in the lineup and not IL'd either.
I meant to speak with you and still will when the mics are off, but I guess I'll weigh in and say it's getting to the point where I think it has to be raised as a potential issue that he's not somebody who's going to fight through what they call in soccer knacks or knocks, one or the other. I think that that's a routine fielding play for shortstops who probably tweak something a little bit every now and then and continue to play. Now, is he quite to that point yet? I guess I'm not going to say that because some of these things have been, he crashes to the ground and his shoulders puts him out for months on end.
That's the only one that's ever required surgery, right?
Right.
I mean, listen, I get Jeff Passan's got a lot of sources to protect, or maybe he's just never had anybody tell him this. I've had lots of people tell me, listen, rule of thumb, did the guy need surgery? Right. And that's a lot of organizations in multiple sports' view of are you hurt or are you injured. Now, it doesn't mean if you're not going under the knife, you shouldn't miss a game. That's not what that point is. But if you're consistently always hurt and missing time and never it's resulting in surgery, then how hurt were you really is what I'm going to tell you every general manager in sports thinks about every player, at least that's not on their own team. Because everybody falls in love with their own guys. So I'm going to tell you that's the view outside of. I've called a friend on another team, like, what do you think of Mondesi? They're like, well, he's not going to play through anything. Right. They absolutely think that around baseball.
Well, he unfortunately, it's to the point where he's earned it. It could be unfair. It could be just he's got bad luck. Oblique injuries are funny. There's no question about that. It's like the worst nagging type of injury. You really shouldn't play through an oblique injury. It just isn't going to get better. Although it seems to be a unique injury to this generation of player. We never used to hear 10 or 15 years ago about a guy having an oblique injury.
So maybe they called it something else.
Or maybe players just swing with more torque now, or they're stronger, or the body is, they're bigger, stronger, more muscular. Their body isn't built to, withstand that type of swing speed or whatever of the way they're constructed. I don't know. But so I don't think he's quite gotten to be in a position where you just say he's a dog, but I mean, he's getting there. You can see it from here. But what you don't want to do is start to be that was certainly the narrative around Anthony Davis for the game last night, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he tried to give it a go, and he clearly couldn't. So it was unfair. What was being said about him before, during that series was that, you got to fight. There was a lot of you got to fight through for the team, and then he went out and tried it.
But I don't even think
it didn't work.
I don't care whether he's not playing because he's like, I'll only play if I'm 100%. I'm going to tell you, I've had people around the team say that that's what they think is the deal. Okay, so that's a fact. That has been said to me. Right? You got to learn to be able to play through the little things. Do you want to be the number one guy at short? Why do we think Escobar kept keeping him around? 3 years after they had debuted this kid. Right? That's why I'm going to tell you. Because this organization itself is still wondering that thing. But I don't even care about him. He's going to be whatever he's going to be. What I care about is how the organization has not gone and gotten another shortstop, and now they've got what appears to be, by their accounts and many others, a generational shortstop on the way, and the plan appears to be to have him bounce around in multiple spots.
Right, that he might play third, or he might play center.
How about Mondesi plays third?
Well, I've said before, if it's a situation where he won't play with nagging injuries, the best place for him to play is center field.
Agreed.
that's you run, but you don't run that often. It's long striding runs in the outfield, not quick movements except for the first step. It's ideal for a player who might have those type of issues. And clearly, to me, if a guy has the ability to play shortstop, he can play center field. Hall of Famers have made that move, like Robin Yount. I agree. They've got they should be getting to that point. Maybe they should have already gotten to that point. And maybe this latest injury, and I was listening to Mike Matheny, and you'll hear that a little bit later. I think there was a little bit of defensiveness from Matheny today.
Sure.
And saying it, because he's quiet, and the people are going to say that he doesn't care, and that's not fair. And when you start saying those things out loud, what it starts to think to me is that maybe it is fair, and he's got to say this.
We have that cut if you want to hear it, by the way.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was trying to wait.
I know
we
he
want to
was.
hear it. Number 7.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Number 7, he said Mondesi is frustrated about playing even if he doesn't really seem like it.
He's not somebody, one who wears his emotions on his sleeve. You all have seen that. He's also not somebody like me and sits up here and is very wordy. So, you're going to have to kind of read between the lines of the words and the body, some of his actions and body language. But there's no doubt he's frustrated. And but he's not going to get out here and verbalize that for all of us. And just like his frustration level when things aren't going, I think people like that get misread as being aloof, or they just don't care, which is it's not fair and it's not accurate.
I don't even care if he cares.
Right.
It doesn't matter to me. Irrelevant.
Well, to me,
like all of that, I don't care if he's moody, he's happy, none of that matters. Like, I listened to Corey Anderson, and I actually disagree with a lot of the things he said about no access and how he's like, why should the media be in there and all that kind of stuff.
I disagreed with that, too. I heard that.
Yeah, I disagree with that. But to his point, he and I were talking about it, when he was done and I was coming in here, and I was like, well, I said, well, I don't really care. You don't want to talk to me, fine. I've been at this long enough. I come up with 4 hours and I'll write my own narrative. What you won't do is bitch at what I did come up with if you won't talk to me.
Right.
All right, if you won't talk to me, then you're going to deal with whatever my conclusions are. Right? Don't suddenly, when you're don't like the negative side, now I've got time to talk to you. Oh, okay. Because you don't like how it sounds? No, screw you. It's a two-way street. We talk when we're going good, and we talk when we're going bad, or we don't talk at all. Either way, I don't care. Right? But that's my whole point. My frustration is not at all with Mondesi. There are players like him and have been like him for years.
Right.
Right? The frustration is this thing still seems to be built around him. And, what will it take for them? I don't understand how they could come in. Is it because they didn't draft Gordon, that Gordon got 10 minutes at third base and then you're going to left? Right? They could make those moves. But they've been at it for 7 years. Yes. Whit Merrifield, you can stay down.
Maybe, until Salvi is gone, Benjamin Button here, he's the best player on your team.
Right.
And you're treating him like, a spare part.
Whit, you're talking about.
Yeah, Whit. And so there is seemingly a double standard. And with the incredible sophistication of training methods these days, you hear it even more in soccer, but they know so much about the player's body. They can put implements on there to monitor everything. So they have more information than you've ever known. You don't have to talk to the guy about how he, how you can talk to him about how he feels, but that there's 14 grades of this particular pull, and he's at 3, and there's 3 other guys on the team who have a grade 3 pull right now, and they're all playing. That's just a very simplistic way of looking at it, but it seems like they probably have a pretty good idea in these cases of his, You never hear them, when they're talking about Mondesi, say, we're just going to listen to the medical people. Do we hear that from him when they're talking about him?
No, and the thing that gets me is, it's just using, when they say certain things, I'm like, okay, let's file it away. This is their point of reference. This is one of their building blocks. This is one of their things you can count on. 1,500 at-bats. Remember when it was Moustakas and Hosmer that were getting harangued and send their asses down, and they can't do anything, and they stood out there and they said 1,500 at-bats. That never gets brought up with this guy, right? And I will point out, he's 1,122 at-bats into his career. He debuted in the World Series in 15. You can't even get to it, right? I'm gonna hold you to what you said, but we're still 3 years from it, and he's at 1,100.
Right, and he debuted 7 seasons? Is that 7 calendar
2015,
seasons?
yeah.
Well, is this the 7th?
No, yeah. 15 to 21, yeah.
6 years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
6.5 years ago.
And at least parts of 7 seasons. Now, he had no business being on the roster for the World Series, but that's, he was. You made that decision.
Yes. He's turning 26 in season this year.
Right. I mean, it's a complete frustration. There's just no other way to look at it on multiple levels, as you said. Not just from the level of Mondesi, but it appears it's a blind spot at this point in time.
Yeah, that's all that can be said about it. What do you make of the Royals at 54 games? That's the 1/3 mark for those that don't.
I think there's two decidedly different ways to look at the Royals. They're 2 games over 500, and they have done a lot of things not very well.
Right.
And had a lot of guys who haven't played up to snuff, and hardly any, except for Perez, who's a good ball player anyway, who are kind of exceeding what they normally do. I mean, Merrifield's numbers are down. Santana's what he is, a walk machine with power. And, his batting average is a little higher this year, but, whatever. He is what he is. Besides that, who's overachieving?
Yeah, your 48 homer guy is hitting in the 200s.
Yeah, who's stepping up?
Hunter Dozier got a contract and has been hurt and
terrible.
It's hitting 150.
And they're 2 games over 500. About the only, and it's such a small sample. I mean, Chris Bubich has exceeded what you would have thought, but he wasn't.
Your
very
opening
good
day
last night.
starter has a 5.6 ERA, and
right.
the next guy is over 5 as well.
Right. So I guess what I'd say is if I was viewing,
and Danny Duffy's hurt.
Yeah, Danny Duffy hasn't
now
pitched
he
in
did
forever.
He was
Mike Minor's a 465,
which is about what you did maybe expect.
I actually expected better because his whip, but he is. Bubich manages to strand everybody, and if you touch first, it's go directly to home, like with Mike Minor. You're going to score.
But so I guess the good way to look at that is that, boy, when the pieces start coming together, and Matheny talked about that today, this team could be hell on wheels. The other way to look at it is that they're just getting handed a few games here and there. I mean, I thought they played like crap in the Minnesota series in Minnesota. I mean, the bad defense, shabby base running, questionable decision making, and they took the series. And then last night, the Twins go ahead and immediately.
That play last night was something.
Let them, and then it's Calliope music out there in the 8th inning as they hand you the game. The guy not only drops the ball, then he starts throwing it around like Little League. So the quality of their play would indicate they're not that great. But they've done all those things in their 2 games over 500, and they certainly can play better. So I guess I'll just say you can choose what you want to think, because I don't know if I can figure it out. I guess I would lean more to the fact that they're not really that good a team as they're currently constructed, because I've always worried about Soler being a consistent player just because of his swing and miss and all that type of thing. So, but he did hit 48 freaking home runs.
Yeah.
So
to survive an 11-game
Brady
losing streak
Singer
and still
can be
2
better.
games over
Whit Merrifield's probably going to get hot here at some point. He's hit his whole career. He shouldn't be a 670 OPS guy right now, which he is. So they're confusing, I guess is what I would say. So if I was going to lean, I'd lean to the fact that there's some losses coming. And they've done a good job since farting away some games against the Tigers that when they play somebody who's not very good, they win, sometimes despite themselves.
I think they are what do we see? 11-16 against teams above 500, and I think now 17-10. Would that add up to the right numbers, Curtis, for where they are?
Yes.
17 against teams that are below 500.
Right, and the standard is that you sort of tread.
That's what good teams do.
But what you're supposed to do really is against the good teams, you're supposed
500.
to survive. You're supposed to be around 500,
Right.
and then you kick ass against a. But
So they're looking like a 500 team,
yes,
and that's about where they are.
right. And if I was going to lean, I'd stay with Jeff Passan from yesterday. What he said is that I'm still probably thinking of them as a upper 70s win team. I still am because of what I'm watching on a nightly basis.
All right, so think about this, and we'll take a break, and that is where do they go from here, right? And what do they do if they do find themselves, if they ease their way past the Indians and they're 3.5 back at the All-Star break of the White Sox, 1.5 out behind 3 teams for the wild card? What do they do at that point? Because that's kind of no man's land as far as I'm concerned. We'll take a break. We'll do that with Danny Clinkscale here in the program.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
I'm here with Joe Spiker, owner of Easton Roofing, and boy, we had to negotiate a million things in 2020, but Easton Roofing navigated them all. As 2021 rolls out, what should we expect this coming storm season?
Well, Danny, it'll be the same thing as it is every year. The storms come, and you've got the guys out knocking on doors offering quote-unquote free inspections. Be wary as a homeowner. If somebody's knocking on your door, they probably need the work, and if they need the work that bad, they may be willing to do something untoward to get it. So if somebody knocks on your door, says they want to give you a free inspection, just tell them have a great day and give us a call. We'll come out for free and give you a good, honest opinion as to whether or not you need to do anything at all with your roof.
And what's the best way to get in touch with Easton Roofing?
You can always find us online at eastonroofing.com or give us a call at 913-257-5426.
Easton Roofing. Integrity matters.
All right, so what do they do, Danny? If they're sitting there at the trade deadline, they're 3.5 back in second place, they're third place or fourth place, but just a game and a half back on the wild card. Are you selling pieces off to go for it?
I wouldn't make a trade that hurts.
Okay.
A trade of a guy that you think is a really viable piece of your future.
Would you if you were getting a guy for multiple years? Well, you're not just renting him, you're getting him for now and on into the future.
Maybe to this particular subject, trade Mondesi for like a hot shot outfielder or something, or a starter, a veteran starter that can make 8 really great starts for you down the stretch, and roll the dice that, which I don't think they want to do, that he's going to blow up in your face down the road. But you can't worry about that. No, they're not going to do that, so why even bring it up?
I think it should be a real possibility. A couple of live arms, a couple of good arm prospects, maybe not the guys that are knocking on the door, but on down prospects and Mondesi for a solid everyday shortstop, or even not, and just be like, we'll go at it with Lopez until Witt Jr.'s ready.
Or somebody's trying to...
and a center fielder.
Or somebody's trying to... Their future looks bleak. They're trying to, get quantity and a potential star down the line, and you get Trevor Story or something.
Yeah,
something like that. At least the guy's going to play.
I'll say this, and I don't expect the Royals to come out and be like, "Listen, we think Witt's really a third baseman. We don't think he can play short." I don't expect them to say anything like that, but they better know.
Yeah, they may really think he's there's everybody plays shortstop when they're younger,
right?
And,
but all the talk has been that this kid is a shortstop in the big leagues, and if that's the case, then I just don't understand. The Brewers had Escobar, and I forget who was the kid that was coming behind him, and they moved Escobar and stayed with the younger guy, and that's what you do, right? The Rangers had a shortstop, and they moved. Whoever he was, I can't remember whoever he was, and because the Royals, everyone wanted the Royals to go get Elvis Andrus when he was in Prospectville, and they're like, no, we're not moving him. They wouldn't even. It was Jurickson Profar,
right?
And they finally said, okay, Profar, you're moving around all that. You haven't grabbed the job, so you grab an outfielder's mitt and you grab a first baseman's mitt, and you're going to play all over the place. That's what
Gene Segura was the shortstop in Milwaukee.
Thank you. Yeah, Gene Segura. And then they're like, okay,
became a good player.
We'll put Escobar into the deal with the Royals. And that's the way they moved on. This is the only team that doesn't seem ready to be like, look, we've got the guy who's the higher profile behind him. Or they don't lower the ceiling on the guy who's had 1,100 at-bats and has a 286 on-base percentage. They still see him as best player in baseball.
And this front office staff did make a trade of a really valuable piece, and it worked when they traded Will Myers.
When they traded Will Myers, they also traded Zach Greinke, but come to find out it's because Greinke said, I'm out.
Right.
I'm not coming.
Yeah, he forced their hand. There was not them deciding, hey, this is a good time to, we may still be 3-4 years away. Zach may or may not be part of that. Whatever. He's a little flaky. We'll trade him now. No, he went to him and said, I'm out.
And I think that's what makes it scary. If you want to say, what's the narrative that says they were lucky in winning the World Championship, that's it right there. Because the trade of Zach Greinke, if it was not going to come about without Zach Greinke pushing and then failing with every team that he agreed he'd go to and then saying, okay, now try the Brewers, if that's the narrative on that, which is what basically Ned Yost laid out to us,
right?
Then you have to kind of look at it and go, well, would they have found their center fielder and their shortstop if Greinke hadn't said, I want out? Or they've just let him pitch for 2 more years and then waved goodbye to him via free agency and taken a sandwich.
Like they did with many of their other valuable pieces.
That's right. That's right. Danny, great stuff, buddy. Have a great weekend.
All right. Thank you, Soren.
This podcast was made possible by our great sponsors like Easton Roofing, the presenting sponsor of Kansas City Profiles at the Danny Kling Scale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Easton Roofing, where integrity matters. We hope you enjoyed the latest Danny Kling Scale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Come back soon for something fresh and new.